July video for the Quiltmania mystery quilt in 2017. This month we're going to do three blocks. We're going to do an English paper piecing block, which is then applicated down onto the background, and we're going to do two blocks which are pieced and then applicated as well. So I hope you'll join me for this month. The fabrics we're using are these ones here. The bottom ones we've actually previously used, so the shirting again is, background shirting remains a constant, and we're going to introduce these three. So we've got the gold Torrington circle, the blue Torrington shirting, which is that one there, and we've got the pink Torrington flowers. Okay. So the next block we're going to do has some English paper piecing in it, and I've used the Sue Daly technique of English paper piecing with the glue pen, and so I'm going to just briefly show you the technique to do that, and you can certainly refer to Sue if you need more information on that. So I've just laid out the start of this block. So this is the progress so far on this block. I haven't actually done, there's actually a star in the middle. I'm going to fussy cut that star. So similar to what we've done before with the 8-pointed star in the centre, and these all radiate from that. And I've done these little, so that's the back of it. So these are just little 1-inch diamonds. So they're the 8-pointed star 45-degree diamonds. And that's consistent all the way through. So I'll show you how to English paper piece using this technique. So I'm just going to show you how to make these little English paper piece diamonds, and I'll show you briefly the glue method that Sue uses. There is information available to you to watch her doing it. She's the expert on this technique. So we've got our little 45-degree diamond here in the card. I've cut, this is a 1-inch with 1-inch edges. I've cut this as a so that it's got the seam allowance included. You just centre that on there. I'm sorry about the light here, we're having a bit of trouble with shadowing. And just using the glue stick, just put a small amount of glue just along the edge there. So I'm going to turn that around so that I'm not shadowing too much. And then just gluing that seam allowance down, and always going in the same direction. So edge of glue, not too close to the actual edge of the card, and glue that down, rotating it around, doing the edge, and again just making sure that you get it nice and tight in the corners, so you don't want any loose sort of air in the middle, if you like, in the corners. I'm just going all the way around with that, and just leaving the tails there. So once we've done that, just to check it, and you'll see that that's fairly quick and it's covered the card, and you've got your tails, so that when you go to sew those together, I'll just pop the lid on that so it doesn't dry out. You'll just join those around, and all the tails will actually be going in the same direction. So I'm just going to show you how to join those. So we've got the two diamonds, and we're just going to butt them up so that all the edges are even. Now I'm using a bottom line thread here, which is great for this because of the card. You don't want cotton to be shredded on the card, so if you use bottom line, it's very, very fine and has got some polyester in it. I'm just going to come in from the back and going up through the seam allowance, and coming out at the point, and pulling that through, and then you'll take a small stitch. Now you can do a knicker knot at this point, or some form of knot, just to make sure that this is really secure. and then you're just going to do a whip stitch. So I'm actually going to do another stitch just at that corner point, and then just doing a little whip stitch evenly spaced along the edge, and you're just going to glide along the top of the card. So you're not actually sewing through that paper, you're sewing just above it. So you'll just stitch down there, making sure that you keep everything aligned at the bottom. So you want those, when you get to the other end, you want to make sure that you actually do meet the point at the other end and that you haven't missed. So you can see as I've approached the end, I've got holding those seam allowances from to the back so that they're not flapping around where I'm trying to work, so that I can see where I'm sewing. So you'll get to the other end, making sure, as I said earlier, that you line up the points, and you'll just do a couple of stitches on that end point, and then just complete the seam with another knicker knot or figure of 8 knot, and then just take that thread, the needle, back through your work so that it's sitting buried in the seam allowance, and just trim it back with a little tail at the end. And when we open that up, that's all meeting nicely, and it's easy to applique this down because everything's all folded underneath for you, so your seam allowance is all already folded. So just to set that aside for a minute. Okay, so to make this unit, this is the main unit in this. You've got the 4 8-pointed stars made out of alternate fabric, and then you've got 4 of these particular units which come down to an 8-pointed star, which I'm yet to make, in the centre. So I'm just going to show you the units that come into this. So we've got the 8-pointed star, yep, and then coming onto that we'll add this little diamond to the side, so that we've got that attached here, and I've actually joined that on this one, so that's going to sit like that. And then we've got this, I've joined together these 3 with the lattice in the middle, and I've actually fussy cut and centered that lattice. That will sit here, and then this one comes down, so that's just got the shirtings on the end of it, and it sits adjacent there, and then this little unit here, which is the one we've just completed when I've shown you how to sew it, sits to the other side. So I'll just move that across, and hopefully you can see that. So you'll make 4 of those, and you actually will join, once we've done the 8-pointed star, you'll join all these finished units, so you'll have it coming in here together. You'll join the 8-pointed star, and you'll join these onto the 8-pointed star. You'll then remove your papers and applique, giving it a good press so that you've got your seam allowances still in place, and you'll then applique onto the background, and again mark your background into the 8 so that it's very easy to position it. You're just going to position from the centre, and then you can use the light box to position these other little stars at the north, south, east, west positions. So that's the English paper pieced star block. Now the final block we're doing this month is an appliqued sunflower block, and I've just prepared parts of this block. I haven't finished it, so I can't show you the completed thing, but I thought I'd just step you through the process, and then we can come back at the end of the video and show you a little bit more. So I've just positioned this, I haven't marked this out, it's just positioned just purely so that you can see what I'm doing. I've cut a little strip of fabric here, and I'm just going to mock this up so that you've got the technique rather than the specific instructions which will be in the magazine. So I've cut a little rectangle, and I've just folded it in half, right sides together, wrong sides together, right sides out. I'm just going to place that, I've folded my background fabric. I'm just going to place that so that the fold on my fabric runs through at about 1/8 of an inch in from the raw edges of this little rectangle. So I'm just going to position that here, and I'm going to pop a couple of pins in just to show you, so that they are lining up. Those pins are on that 1/8 of an inch mark. What I'll do then is I'll actually do a little running stitch and run along that 1/8 of an inch line. So that's just sewn down here. And once that's basted, I'll just pop another pin in just to emulate the stitching. So once that's basted down, I can fold that around and then just applique that little stem down. This is quite a quick way of doing a little stem, because I'm not turning any corners or any curves, so I don't really need to do it on the bias, and it's just a nice, quick, simple way to do it. So that's actually I can't get it really flat just with the pins in, but that'll give you the idea. So just doing a little running stitch along here with the occasional back stitch. That's nice and quick, and you can imagine it's even quicker if you're doing it on the sewing machine. You'll give it a press so that you're marking the midline. So all I've done is, with those folded together, press that down so that you've got a fold there that you can clearly see. You can then trim that seam allowance back a little bit, and just at the very corner on the folded edge, you're going to clip back down on an angle so that you come down to a point at that edge. You can then open that up and turn it inside out, and just with the point of the scissors or something that's, an awl, or just something that you can get into that corner, I'm just gently easing that so that I get that point. So you want a nice sharp point there if you can. We'll then go to the iron, and lining up this seam line with the fold will give that a press so that we get a nice sharp edge, a nice crease, and it is centered on the actual middle of the wedge. Yep. So we've now given those a press so they're nice and sharp. We'll then pop them right sides together, making sure that you consistently put them on the same side, and just line up the edges. You've got your stitching line there, and here you just open that little fold up, and you'll pop a pin in on the seam line right on that fold that's coming down on an angle that's made that from the point. So you'll pop that in on both sides, matching everything up, and then pin that in, and then you can stitch that together. So that's now pinned, and if I open that up, that's where it's going to be stitched, and you'll get it nice and flat once you've got the pins out and you've got your sewing line done. So you'll just consistently do those. So there's 4 colours, 4 fabrics in this, 4 of each colour, 4 of each fabric. So you'll join them together into pairs, and then into quarters, then the quarters into half, and then around into a circle. Now last month I showed you how to do an 8-pointed star, and I've done the same thing again. So last time I did mark this, I showed you how to fussy cut, and I used the template for this particular star. So I've pieced this star together, and I've given it a press with all the seam allowances going in one direction, and I've just turned in the seam line so that that's all sitting and it's ready for me to applique down. So we'll just set that aside, and I've cut the circle. So we've cut a circle here using the template, and this circle is going to sit within this Dresden plate, Now, two ways of doing this. You could applicate a circle down and then applicate the Dresden plate on the top. I prefer to piece it, so I'm going to actually piece mine. So as we showed before, I've actually marked on here, folded it and marked the midpoints. So we've got our quarters, and then I've folded again to mark those points in there. I'm not sure whether you can see it, but I've put little pencil marks in here where I've segmented the circle. That then makes it easier. We can then match. So you can divide this circle down. I've divided it into 8, so it will be every second Dresden. But if you want to, you can fold it down even further and get the 16th point so that you've got a point for each point of the Dresden. So that will be sewn on. I've also marked my sewing line here, obviously. And then from the sewing line, I've marked another 1/2 inch line. And that's actually going to be the cutting line. So I've marked that in now so that it's ready for me to piece that and trim it back, because this actually has, and this will become evident as we go, but it does have, goes back to the background in the centre. So you can either cut back on that cutting line and then applique that down. There's about 1/4 inch little rim of the blue. Or alternatively, you can applique this down and then you can applique another circle over the top out of the background fabric. So it depends on what your preference is, whether you prefer to reverse applique the blue down or applique the background on the top. Once that's completed, you'll then applique the star, centering that on. You'll applique the star onto the background fabric, and the whole thing is then onto a piece of background fabric. So that's basically the Dresden plate block, and it is actually quite a quick block to complete. So I enjoy making that. I've now completed the 3 blocks for July for the 2017 Quiltmania mystery quilt. We've got the Stars Upon Stars block, the Paisley Sunburst, and the Dresden Star block. So I've shown you how to paper piece with this particular one, and you can now see the centres in, and it's all been fussy cut just to give that a great effect. This one here, we've sewn these paisleys on like we've done previously, and that just sort of gives the block a bit of a lift and a bit of a different look. And then we've got the star now appliqued into the middle of your Dresden plate. Enjoy and have fun. See you next month. Bye.